So, good day everyone, I am Aiken, Manalo, and today I will be reporting the God Agenda Policy Framework. So, to support the Magna Carta of Women in the Philippines, commitment to gender equality and women's empowerment, the Philippine Commission on Women, NEDA, and BBM released guidelines for creating and reporting on GAD plans and budgets, and GAD accomplishments reports. Those guidelines include procedures for formulating, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating GAD plans and highlighting the GAD agenda as a key step. The GAD agenda serves as the basis for creating annual programs, activities, and projects. To be included in the GPDS, it guides agencies in setting priorities and monitoring their GAD efforts to achieve GEWE goals. So the Philippine government agencies release guidelines to support gender equality and women's empowerment by creating and reporting on gender development, plans and budgets. These guidelines help government agencies prioritize and monitor their efforts to achieve gender equality goals through annual programs and projects. So the next is the GAD agenda must align with desired GEWE outcomes under the MC1 other gender-related laws. The other one is the Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development in 1995 to 2025 and related term plans. The next is international commitments like UN, CAUA, Beijing Platform for Action, and the Sustainable Development Goals. And lastly, national priorities in the Philippine Development Plan and sectoral plans. So lastly for my report is that GAD agenda is a two-part document. So the GAD strategic framework outlines the agency's GAD vision and goals based on its mandate. So like their mission to promote gender equality and etc.
Hey everyone, I am Archell Joy Magarso and I am the next reporter, and I will be discussing the GAD Strategic Framework or GADSF and the 4 steps. So step 1 is organizing the planning team. So the head of agency or GAD focal point system or GFPS chairperson shall issue, if necessary, an office memorandum for the preparation of the GAD agenda. So that means that the head of agency or GFPS chairperson issue a memorandum to officially task a team with creating the GAD agenda. So ensuring the process is recognized and authorized. So the necessary means that nagasuggest nisa might not be needed a standing team already existing with a clear mandates. So next, the step 2, so conducting gender analysis. So the agency led by GPS shall conduct gender analysis based on the following. So number 1 is result of the application of gender analysis tools such as Gender Menstruating Evaluation Framework or GMEF, Harmonized Gender and Development Guidelines or HGDG. So participatory gender audit or PGA and other gender analysis tools. So that means that the gender analysis tool result like GMEF and HGDG and PGA are crucial because they reveal gender gaps. Also their causes and how will the agency currently address gender. So this evidence gihelp ni siya sa pag help sang GAD agenda and to set realistic goals, ang ilang target and resources effectively, and to track progress towards sang gender equality. So next is analysis of sex-disaggregated data and or relevant information. So this means that analyzing sex-disaggregated data and gender info reveals inequalities between sexes. So amo ning evidence ga-inform ni siya para sa target action in the GAD agenda. Gina-ensure nila ang inclusivity and ga-provide na sila baseline for tracking progress towards gender inequality. Next is review of GAD-related mandates and policies, international and local. Review of sector and gender inequality and women's empowerment, GEWE plans, and GAD-related indicators. So that means that reviewing GAD laws, policies, ensures legal compliance and provides a framework. So gina-check nila sa sectoral or GEWE plans and indicators, gina-ensure nila ang goals and alignment and relevant progress measures. So next is issue and recommendation gathered from consultation with women's group, organization working in sector and other concerned stakeholders. So this means that women's group and other stakeholders is vital and because it brings real world experience. So tanan nga mga women ay maka-experience ng mga amuni nga mga things and need directly into the GAD agenda. So, ang amuni nga issue nga recommendation highlights gender-specific challenges within the sector and offer practical solution based on ang mga other expertise. So, this ensure the agenda is relevant and responsive and effective. Gina-address ni sila nga mag-live realities of women and promoting gender inequality on the ground. So next is, after collating the results of the gender analysis, the agency should be able to come up with a summary list of gender issues. So this one is ginapakita nga collating gender analysis results allow agency na mag-identify sa common threads and patterns. So, ga-transform ni siya ang detailed findings into the concise summary of key gender issue nga need i-address sa GAD agenda. So, also, ga-focus ni sa list provides clarity and prioritization and planning target invention. So, amo ginila gina-prioritize ang amo nga step. So next is the gender issue could be client and or organization focus. So this means that a gender issue that I mentioned can either affect the gender agency, client, beneficiary, example, unequal access to service for women, or be internal to the organization. The example of this is underrepresentation of women in leadership. So next is a client-focused gender issue refers to the gaps arising from the unequal status of men stakeholders. Example is customers, client, beneficiaries of a particular NCY, including the extent of their disparity over access to benefits from the contribution to a policy, program, project, and service of the agency. So this means that a client-focused gender issue means that male and female stakeholders, mapa customer man or beneficiary of the agency have equal access to benefit or make an equal contribution to the agency policies, program, project, or service due to their gender. So ganapagkita din men and women can be equal. Miski ano pa na kay basta dapat ang pagtrato mo sa men and women kay equal. So next is an organization-focused gender issue on the other hand points to the gaps in the capacity of the organization to integrate a gender dimension in its programs, systems, or structure. So this means that an organization focused on gender issue refers to the internal weaknesses within the agency that hinder its ability to effectively consider and address gender in its program, system, and overall structure. So the step 3, so setting the agency God vision and mission. The God vision shall be formulated to reflect the agency's projected direction to achieve its gender inequality and women's empowerment based on its mandate, prioritize, and trust. The God mission should be articulate the agency's purpose based on its mandate in relation to achieving gender inequality and on women's empowerment. So This means that setting the GAD vision and mission defines agency the future goals for gender inequality, vision based in its purpose and priorities, and its core purposes in achieving that equality, mission based in its mandate. Simply put, the vision and its ideal future, and the mission is what we do to get there regarding to a gender. So the last is the step 4. So formulating the GAD's goals based on the results of the gender analysis, the agency shall set 3 to 5 GAD goals that can be achieved during the time frame set. So by this, the formulate ang GAD goals means that the agency is ma-establish 3 to 5 achievable objectives within the specific life frame. So, directly addressing the gender issue identified in the analysis, ang amuning goals kay gag-guide siya sa mga agencies' actions toward gender inequalities.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jeric Montealto, and I will be reporting the part 2 of God's strategic plan or God is Key. Step 5, prioritizing gender issues and God mandates for God goal. The process of prioritizing gender issues and God mandates within a God goal involves a systematic approach to identify, analyze, and rank the most pressing issues affecting women and men. This prioritization ensures efficient resource allocation and effective program implementation. What is the understanding God goal? God goals are overarching objectives and aim at achieving gender equality and women empowerment. These goals are usually context-specific and aligned with national development plans and international commitment. This might focus on areas like women economic empowerment, political participation, or health and well-being. Examples of prioritized God goals and its use. God goals focus on women economic empowerment might prioritize issues like unequal access to credit or limited opportunities for skill development. A goal focus on health might prioritize gender-based violence or mental mortality. The specific issues selected will depend on the context and available data. 6, also known as the outlining God outcomes indicators, baseline data and targets. This step is crucial for creating a measurable and effective God gender and development plan. It involves defining what you want to achieve, outcomes, how you will measure progress, where you currently stand, and what you aim to accomplish. Defining God outcomes is, these are the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound change you expect to see as a result of God intervention. They should directly contribute to our overall God goal. Outcome should focus on change in the lives of women and men and should be expressed as positive changes. Example, instead of improved women access to education, a better outcome statement could be increase the enrollment rate of girls in secondary education by 20% in this year. And the last step of my work is translating God outcomes in the programs, projects, and activities. These steps involve transforming the previously defined God, gender and development outcomes in concrete action. This means developing specific programs, projects, and activities that will directly contribute to achieving those outcomes. The process should ensure that the actions are aligned with the overall God goal and feasible within the available resources and time frame.
I'm one of the reporters of Group 3. My name is Wamvy Olvido, and I will be discussing to you what is Gender Mainstreaming Evaluation Framework, or the GMEF. So it is a tool to measure the extent of the gender mainstreaming efforts of organizations, both national government agency or the NGAs and local government units or the LGU. It also meant to assess the Gender and Development Focal Point System, or the GFPS, members in measuring gains and successes, as well as pinpoint areas for improvement in the way they mainstream the gender and development GAD perspective in their respective organization. So, meaning ko naka-gender mainstreaming evaluation framework, do sila ni ang kumbaga ang mga galantaw kung ano gid bala ang mga process kay as we all know, as we discussed on our previous lesson during midterm, may ang ginapa-implement ng mga law about avoid na ang discrimination against gender. So, ang main tool yan ang main purpose yan is to figure out kung ginahimo man gibala sa mga organizations ang ila gina-promise. So, in the context of implementing the Magna Carta for Women, which we discussed previously before again, it's a Republic Act, its milestone passage, gender mainstreaming as a strategy became an integral part of the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies and programs of government agency and local alike. The Philippine Commission on Women, or the PCW, as the national machinery on women's empowerment and gender equality is mandated by the MCW, is to 1. Lead in ensuring the government agencies are capacitated on the effective implementation of the Act. The second reason is to influence the system, processes, and procedures of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government vis of GAD. So, Section 3.7 of the Implementation Rules and Regulations, or the IRR of the law mandates all government agencies, office, bureaus, instrumentalities, state universities, and college, or the SUCs, government-owned and controlled corporations, or the GOCCs, and LGU is to pursue the adoption of gender mainstreaming as a strategy to promote and fulfill women's human rights and eliminate gender discrimination in their system, structures, policies, programs, processes, and procedures. In order to effectively pursue gender mainstreaming, agencies and LGUs are required to ensure the following essential elements are available. Number 1 is GAD planning and budgeting. Number 2 is GAD focal point system. Number 3 is sex segregated database. And finally, conduct of gender audit. So, amo na siya, again, sa section 3.7, amo na sila ang make sure nga gina-implement ang law. Specifically, gina-focus ang gitabong ang iya ka Magna Carta for Women to give rights to the women, because as we all know before, laban-laban gid ka focus ng gid sa male nga gender kag kakalimtan ng mga babayi kung baga gina stereotype that time. So amo gini siya, this section is making sure nga gina-implement gid ang Magna Carta for Women. The Gender and Development, or GAD, approach is development perspective anchored on rights-based and people-centered development, recognizing the legitimacy of gender equality as a fundamental value that should be reflected in development choices. This approach focuses on social, economic, and political and cultural factors that determine how differently women and men participate in, benefit from, and control resources and activities. GAD shifts the focus from the need to include women in the development to the examination of socially determined relationships between women and men. So, ang GAD approach ko no, it is a rights-based and people-centered, focusing on the social dynamic between women and men. This aims to address the inequality and access, participation, and control over sources and development outcomes. So, ang GAD approach, hindi lang ni about sa women na, pero mostly about women sa akin. As we all know gani, laban ng mga babae, do ginakwaan sila nga rights nga, ara ang mga lalaki ya, pero ang mga babae wala. So, muna siya ang GAD approach. Hindi lang siya ka-focus sa women, ka-focus mo sa men. Di gina-address ya ang gender equality nga, pero hindi kakatabo sa ato na same sa mga babae nga ang babae, ang mulang na, isa ng lalaki, ang mulang na, muna siya ang GAD approach nga gina-address nito nga dapat i-stop niya ang mga discrimination about gender inequality.
Hello everyone, my name is Lonelyn and Openio, and I will talk about the topic of gender mainstreaming. So the topic for the gender mainstreaming is a strategic approach under gender and development or GAD, the goal is not just to consider women or men in development separately, but to integrate gender perspectives into all aspects of institutional work, whether it's policy making, planning, budgeting, or implementation. So magamo kita, gender mainstreaming is just not about focusing on women or men, but is also for all the gender that will develop, whether it's policy making, planning, budgeting, or implementation. It also recognizes the development that doesn't affect men and women the same way, so we need to actively address those unequal impacts. It's about transforming system to be more inclusive and equitable for everyone regardless of gender. So why is it important to know the GM? So first one is traditional development efforts if to ignore gender biases. So magambo kita dire, it's about the past policies and programs that most of male are centered and intentionally excluding or disadvantaging women and other genders. So it means that they more on focus on males that will blindly approach some other genders that include women and other genders. So they identify and correcting these blind spots. So the next one is GM shifts the agenda from simply including women to transforming system. So magamo kita is just not about adding women into existing system, it's about restructuring system. So we plan, implement, and evaluate so they work fairly for everyone is systematic change, not a token fix. So it's not just all about men maghambak kita in work, but also women that will include sa plan and to evaluate and of course to work fairly for everyone. Next is promote equality and fairness by making gender concerns central. So JM doesn't treat gender as a side issues. It makes it core concern in every step of development. So by doing this, policies and action become fairer and more effective and more sustainable in the long run. So how does GM work? So first begin with the gender analysis, which means understanding the current situation and how it affects men and women, and other differently. This includes looking at the social norms, economic access, and political participation, and environmental impacts. So once we understand the barriers and opportunities, we design solutions that intentionally respond to those differences. So GM ensures that the development process is inclusive, equitable, and meets the real needs of diverse groups. So next is understanding the GM is and isn't. First is. So GM focus on the substantive organizational work. So it's not just about having women on a panel or checking boxes. It's about ensuring the actual work and policies reflect gender equality. Next is about concrete actions. So gender mainstreaming isn't just about analyzing problem, it's about implementing solutions like changing hiring practices, allocating budgets, or revising policies in gender in mind. And the last one is ensure visibility of gender equality goals. So gender considered should appear in plans, budgets, evaluation, and reports. It should be clear how gender equality is being pursued, not hidden or assumed. Next is GM isn't. So the first one is not a replacement for women's empowerment. So while GM is abroad, it supports specific groups for women. We will still need targeted initiatives that directly uplift women and other marginalized groups. Next is not a reason to eliminate gender units or focal points. So GM needs expertise and leaderships. So specialized gender units and advocates are still vital. Next is doesn't make a gender issue visible. So some people think that gender is mainstream, it disappears. On the contrary, GM makes gender issues more visible and more integrated into everything we do.
Good morning, everyone. I am Kemberly Quinto, and my topic to discuss is about the entry points of gender mainstreaming. Gender mainstreaming, gender equality as the goal, gender mainstreaming as the strategy. Gender mainstreaming or gender development, GAD mainstreaming, is the major global strategy for ensuring that the government pursues gender equality in all aspects of the development process to achieve the vision of gender-responsive society where women and men equally contribute to and benefit from development. Its importance has been extensively discussed since governments committed to this concept in Beijing Platform for Action during the 4th United Nations World Conference on Women in 1995. It endeavors to look more comprehensively at the relationship between men and women in their access to and control over resources, decision-making, and benefits and rewards within a particular system. It may be an organization, government, or an entire society. This process of gender mainstreaming necessitates the transformation of institutional structures, culture, and practices wherein gender concerns become central instead of remaining as peripheral issues and concerns. So what is the mainstream? The mainstream is an interrelated set of dominant ideas, values, practices, institutions, and organizations that determine who gets what within a society. The ideas and practices with the mainstream tend to reflect and reinforce each other, and those provide a rationale for any given allocation of societal resources and opportunities. Becoming part of mainstream means women and men have equitable access to resources, including opportunities and rewards. It implies equal participation in influencing what is valued in shaping options within society. Share equitably in the benefits of development. Offers the opportunity to influence who does what in a society and who owns what, who has access to jobs and incomes, who controls the society's resources and institutions, who make decisions, who set priorities. Entry points of gender mainstreaming. GED mainstreaming requires interventions from different stages of development planning processes, from planning to programming, budgeting, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. There are 4 critical entry points to GED mainstreaming, namely policies, programs and projects, people, and enabling mechanisms. These are not in any order or of importance. A government agency has the option on what entry point to use first. They may opt to adopt strategies that characterize more than one entry point. So the policies, this refers to the official statements. So the people, this refers to the relevant stakeholders who assume the task of gender mainstreaming. The following are critical to the success of gender mainstreaming. GED champions among top management who actively support the gender mainstreaming program. Recognition of GAD focal points, system, and staff members as GAD experts. Internal and external clients who are able to participate in the planning, implementation, monitoring and evaluation of programs, activities, and projects. As an entry point, people shares four complementary and distinct roles.
So I'm Krista Sevilla. Lastly, I will be discussing about the sponsor, the change agent, the target, and the advocate. So first is the sponsor. So who they are? They are the person or group within the official authority to approve and support changes within an organization. Sila ni ang may mga authority, kag may mga rights or ang matawag ta nga may power gid nga ma-change ang mga organization. To sila ni ang galid. So what they do, they decide which changes should happen, announce new priorities, and make sure the organization has what it's need. Ang sila man nga decide sa kung ano nga changes ang gusto nga matabo sa organization. Bali sila gid ang utok-utok sa organization. Kagang also sa make sure sa organization has what it's need. So in terms sa mga time, sa budget, kag sa resources. And also they are responsible for creating an environment where change can be done efficiently and effectively. So, in terms naman sa gender mainstreaming, i-relate ang the sponsor. Sila ni ang mga heads ng organization, as what I've said. And also, sila ni ang show support by approving policies sa gender and development. Kag ang mga policies, mechanisms, kag ang especially sa plan, kag sa budget. Kag amon sila ang guide sa overall nga mga members sa organization. Second, we have here the change agent. So who they are the person or group that actually carries out the change process, and what they do is they identify potential issues, make plans to solve them, and take action to implement the change. Their job is to make sure the plan changes are effectively put into practice. So from the sponsor nga mga head, do sila naman ni ang second hand sang the sponsor. Do secretary kumbaga sa aton nga kumpanya, no? Sila ni ang naga-identify sa potential issues, kag sila man ang gaobra plano, kag dapat effectively gini maput sa practice kay para mahambal gid nga effective gid ang ilang nga solusyon nga ginhimo. And sa regarding naman sa gender mainstreaming, sila ni ang mga members sang Gender and Development Focal Point System. Sila ang galid kaga-coordinate sang pag-implement sang gender mainstreaming initiatives sa organization. Third is the target. So who they are, the individuals or groups who are expected to change or who will benefit from the change. So kung sa aton pa sa sa Philippines, bale ang the target are the Filipino citizens. Kag what they do is as the focus of the change, they need to understand and accept the changes being made. Their participation and cooperation are key to the success of the initiative. So sila ni dapat ang makapag-cooperate sa mga taas nga positions para maka-benefit man sila sa changes. Kag sa regarding sa gender mainstreaming naman, targets include government employees, field workers, and the clients of various organizations. So lastly, we have the advocate. So who they are someone who strongly support changes but doesn't have the official power to enforce it. Unlike sa the sponsor kag sa mga tag-as pagit nga position, they have the authority. Ang the advocate naman wala ni sila authority, but they are eager to have the changes maskin wala sila power nga mag-enforce. And what they do is they just push for change by promoting its benefit and encouraging others to support it. Even without formal authority, their passion and influence can have a big impact. Kung diri man bala sa aton may like mga advocate man sa mga bagay-bagay like sa mga teenage pregnancy, mga family planning like that, may mga advocate man nga maskin wala man sila power gid mayo nga dagko, ordinary lang sila ka Filipinos, gusto gid nila nga i-push nga amo na nga policy or something nga platform para maging empower ang mga tanan. Kag ang i-relate naman sa gender mainstreaming, gender and development advocates, ga-play ni sila vital role in sustaining gender initiatives. Ga-help sila sang build sang foundation, sang pag-understand sang gender equality, using a right-based approach that aims to shift power dynamics in development work.